All right, let's settle in for a story. It all starts once upon a time in a kingdom that was just incredibly lush and green. And in this kingdom, the queen decided, you know what? I desperately need a vacation. I just need to let my mind unwind.
So, let me ask you this. What's the one thing you absolutely must never forget at bedtime? It's a question that, for the sake of a peaceful night, every older brother should really know the answer to. And our prince? Well, he was about to learn that lesson the hard way.
And that was the prince, talking to his mother, the queen. He was so confident. He said, hey, take a trip. Go on, leave the princess here with me. He figured, how much trouble could she possibly be? She's only 3. Famous last words, am I right?
So, the queen packed her bags. Just before she said so long, she gave the prince this one single crucial piece of advice. She said, look, your little sister is going to miss me, and she's probably going to scream and cry. The key is to remember her favorite lullaby. And the prince, he just sort of waved it off. Yep, okay, sure. Totally believing his sister would be on her best behavior.
And at first, you know what? Everything was absolutely perfect. The prince and the little princess, they had a wonderful time, just gladly playing the day away. And as the sun finally started to go down, the prince thought, hey, this is great. My sister will be sound asleep very, very soon.
So he laid her down, tucked her in, sealed it with a little kiss, and thought to himself, wow, brotherhood is just bliss. But no sooner had that thought crossed his mind than the entire royal castle was shaken by this incredibly piercing scream. The prince ran back in, scooped her up, and he tried everything. But the wailing, flailing princess just would not be calmed. He read her a story, he offered her a glass of milk and honey, but nothing worked. She just kept on bawling. Okay, so the prince is getting sleepy now, and he realizes he needs backup. And this is where things really start to escalate. He called for the butlers, who then called the maids, who then called the midwives, who then called their aides. A whole team was assembled, but the princess still wouldn't go to bed.
Then the prince had another idea. Entertainment. Yeah, maybe that would relax her. He called for the puppeteers. They put on this whole show about a sweet girl who took the longest, strongest nap, but the princess just wailed the whole way through, didn't hear a single scrap of it.
All right, plan B. Bring in the brightest, most rightest royal storyteller. I mean, this guy had a beard so long it brushed the ground. A truly wise and able fella. But every single tale he tried to tell was completely drowned out by the little princess's weeping.
Okay, so the prince calls for the jugglers. They send pins spinning through the air with these incredible flourishes. They even brought in jesters with bells that tinkled as they joked. And still, the little princess cried until her pillow was absolutely soaked.
He's getting desperate now, so the prince calls for the wizard. He brought his wand and a whole flight of beautiful fairies who just flitted right before her eyes. But even with all of this magic, the princess's cries did not one bit decline in size. The prince had thrown everything he could think of at the problem. I mean, what was left? The zoo. He called for the zoo, which brought giraffes and bats and stags and cats and even a wild huffle. The giraffes licked her, the huffle puffed its crest, but that fussy princess still would not lay her head down to rest.
So the prince's plan had escalated from butlers to a full-blown zoo in the bedroom, and absolutely none of it was working. His brain was just blanking on what else there was to do. Now just picture the scene. The bedroom is packed to the gills. It's a roaring den of stomping animals and yelling people. And it was exactly at this moment, when the crowd was at its absolute loudest, that the queen walked in. The prince, he starts crying these joyous tears. He was so relieved. He said, "Thank God you're here. She will not sleep." The queen just smiled, gently eased a giraffe aside, and sat by her princess, delivering this very gentle but pretty pointed correction.
She reminded him, I told you when I left that she would surely scream and cry, unless, of course, you sang to her her favorite lullaby. She told everyone to just sit down and listen, because Mama was here at last.
And then she started singing. Her voice was like honey dripping from a comb, like socks warmed by a fire. She stroked the princess's head with fingers as smooth as amber, as the first words of that lullaby finally filled the chaotic room. The words were just this velvet melody, silk with a downy pitch and timbre. And the entire room, it just began to calm down, completely under the spell of this simple, beautiful song. The butlers started snoring, the puppeteers just fell over, the jugglers and jesters snoozed, all interlocked. The storyteller used his giant beard as a pillow, and even the giraffes' long necks began to droop as they and all the other animals just dozed off.
And the princess? She stopped her crying, gave a mighty royal yawn, and as the queen finished her song, she fell into a deep and dreamy sleep.
The queen then turned, and she looked at this giant sleeping crowd in the room. And there she found her son, the prince, completely passed out, soundly sleeping while cuddling a juggler tight. She just laughed a silent little laugh, walked through the quiet room, and with everyone finally at peace, she blew out all the candles and just whispered to the room, "Good night."
And that's our story. A confident prince accepts what he thinks is a simple task. A little princess's scream unleashes just escalating chaos. An entire kingdom's worth of entertainers can't seem to help, and in the end, it took a mother's return and one simple song to bring peace, leaving a room full of sleepers and one very, very tired prince.